Hi everyone, and welcome to And Sew On. My name is Lisa, and today I have a sewing day. Okay, so life has been super busy. I had a friend come and visit from France, and I don't know about you, but I find December a really tough time to find extra crafting time. I have time to get the things done that I need to do for gifts, and I have some gift knitting that I'm doing and a little bit of gift sewing, but I haven't had a ton of time for sewing, and today I finally have a day. Now, if you've managed to find my video among all the Vlogmas, power to you, because I feel like my entire feed is Vlogmas. So clearly I'm not doing Vlogmas, but I did go into Barcelona last week with my friend who was visiting, and we went to La Sagrada Familia, which is the very famous church by Gaudí here in Barcelona. It's been under construction for 100 years, and it still, I think, has another 50 years to go. It's unlike anything you've ever seen if you've never been to La Sagrada Familia. It's incredible, so stay tuned for that. Okay. So I have this day, my kids are still in school, my husband's out, and I'm gonna tackle my coat for my winter capsule. So this has been a bit of a saga only because of my indecision of what pattern to use. So I had showed you guys a couple of patterns, and then I changed my mind and I went with Vicky Sew's pattern. I laid it out on the fabric, and because I was a little bit silly and only asked them for 1.5 meters of fabric, this fabric is sponsored by the fabric sales. All of the fabric in my winter capsule is sponsored by the fabric sales. And so, you know, when I'm asking manufacturers, I mean, I haven't done it very often, but when I ask for fabric, I don't like to be greedy, you know, and ask for more than what I need. And so I only asked for 1.5 meters, which for a jacket is tight, especially a plaid jacket, which didn't really occur to me because you have to clearly, you know, cut the plaid correctly. So after putting the Vicky Sew's pattern on there, I had a bit of a panic attack. Sorry, that's I shouldn't say that. I had a moment, and I decided to put it off. Now, in the meantime, I was looking at more patterns, and I've chosen the Pona jacket from Helen's closet instead of this Vicky Sew's pattern. And the reason is because, just like everything I said before, I don't have a lot of fabric. It's in plaid. This is special sponsored fabric that I want to make sure that I, you know, do it really, really well. And so I decided, instead of going with a more, you know, a more intricate pattern, I would choose something a little simpler. And Helen's closet, you know, I know I know the way she writes her patterns, and I feel like in this case, it will be a bit of a security blanket for me. So I purchased the pattern. I think it was a sale. So I think it was the Black Friday sale, or right around there. I don't know if it was actually Black Friday, but it was right around there. And it was oh gosh, I don't remember what the price was, but I think I got 20% off. So I've printed it off, and now I'm sitting here in my living room. It is a beautiful, beautiful day in December. It's like 15 degrees, blue sky, gorgeous. Already had a walk and a coffee with my hubs, and now I'm gonna put together this pattern, and then I'm gonna cut it down here. You can see my Christmas tree. We got a live tree at a local gardens shop, and we've got it all nice and decorated, and the kids are super happy with it. I am as well. It's just kind of the perfect size for this apartment. And I also got a poinsettia, like a tiger. Is it called a tiger poinsettia when it has white in it? I realized this morning I hadn't watered that in a while, so I watered it. Anywho, I'm gonna put this together, and then I'm gonna start cutting down here, and then I will go upstairs and sew, and hopefully you'll join me. Okay, so here we go. I've just put it in half, matched up the stripes along the sides and at the bottom. This is the short version of the Pona, which I think is view B. My only question is, I definitely don't have enough for the long version, But part of me wants to do an in-between version where I've got it folded out here. So what if I split the difference? What if I did it there? So I'm gonna try that and see if I can make it fit. Let's see. Okay, so I just tried to add 5 centimeters, but you know what? I think I'm going to stick with the short version as is, leave myself a little extra fabric to either add a pocket or maybe a waistband is in my head, but well, let's just see. Okay, I'm gonna cut. Okay, so you can rarely see this, but I've actually put, this is my side piece. Don't ask me why there's a hole in the middle. I'm missing a page somehow. I've put the piece that I've already cut on top so that I know where the side seams are, and now I'm moving them both together to match up the side seams. So if I take this much out, they'll at least be on the same line. It's not going to be exact because of the seam allowance, and I can't move it any further here because of the selvage, and I can't move it any further this way, I don't think, because I think that will mess up cutting the other pieces. So I think this is really good enough. I mean, they will match along, and yeah, so I'm gonna cut that there. Okay, scratch that. I've actually rotated this, and again, it's gonna be hard to see, but I've rotated it and lined it up again so that I'm not moving into the selvage. I realized when I looked at it again that I was actually more in the selvage than I thought. So I've rotated it, and this will allow me to cut everything safely, but and on pattern, but not using the selvage. Hello. Okay, one more thing I wanted to show you is for the facing, I've put this here and I marked with a snip where the first stripe of the plaid ends so that I can also use that to match, because moving this great big piece around on this smaller piece is a little more crazy, a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as effective. So I've made a little slot, and then what I can do, and so now when I put this down, I have this little notch that I made. There's my notch, and I can put that notch at the bottom of this stripe, and I'll know that that's going to match. Now again, this is the facing, but it does get turned out. So, you know, it's just gonna fit, but I'm using this notch to make sure everything is right, and I'm gonna pin it all in place. And then that's where the sleeve is gonna go. I don't think the sleeve matters as much in terms of matching the front, but we'll see. And then down here will be the portion where I'll do the collar. Okay, sleeve. Ideally, I would want a stripe to run right down the center of the sleeve, but I don't think I can do that because of the spacing. I can almost do it, but it'll run me into the selvage. Not by much. I mean, the thing is, this is a drop shoulder jacket, so you have to figure that the sleeve is not going to start basically the same as this. Like, the sleeve's not going to start till here, so it's not like it's running all the way down the shoulder. It's just from here down. So I don't know that it's as important for it to be centered in the pattern. I'm not saying that's not ideal. I mean, It's a very hairy selvage. I could maybe just squish it out. Maybe I will. Yeah, okay, I will. All right, so there are all the pieces. I really had to work to get the pockets out of the rest. So again, this is 1.5 meters of fabric, and I'm making the size 6, I believe. 0, 2, 4, no, I'm making the 8. The short version of 8, I had to cut the undercollar in 2 pieces, and a little bit of the pocket that's going to be folded in is a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see here. Yeah, there's like a corner here missing, but that's being turned in. So as long as I finish the edge, I think it'll be fine. And now we're ready to sew. Okay, first off, don't mind the banging. My neighbor is, I don't know, maintaining something. I'm afraid I can't get around it. So I've added the interfacing to the pieces that needed interfacing, and I've stitched everything. Now, I am not going to bind all of the seams. I'm going to do what I did on my last coat, which is just bind around the facing, the rough raw edge of the facing. And if I have enough, I'll also do it around the hem, because I do like a hand finished hem, but we'll see. So I have this red linen, which was actually a gift from when I did an order from Carl Johan, which is an online Catalonian fabric shop. And I thought this would be perfect. So I'm going to try the method where you get one continuous strip of bias binding from a fat quarter. I haven't been terribly successful with it in the past, probably because I've been rushing it, but I'm gonna try. So here we go. Yeah, so I messed it up again and ended up with strips. Oh well. Strips of bias, that's what I need. It's not continuous, I'll deal. Okay, so now she has you finish the shoulder seams as you like. I like to finish my shoulder seams and any seam that I don't really think I'm gonna be putting it on display very much, just with a straight zigzag. So I have this on a zigzag. I have a 4.0 width and a 2.0 length, and I find that works for me. And the other thing I do is that I chain stitch them. So I put one through and the next and the next and the next without ever cutting the threads. And I do that because it's much faster and it's much less likely that I'm going to end up with you know, like the thread getting lost on the first stitch or whatever. It's just a lot faster and easier. And then I just take it all at the end and snip them all. Okay, so I'm gonna do the shoulder seams. Little pet peeve I have about almost all patterns is that you have to search to find what their seam allowance is. And I actually can't even find it here. I think it's 5/8 for the construction seams. There was some pattern company, and maybe one of you remembers, that put, ooh, it's a little bit off, isn't it? Better. That put the seam allowance like at the bottom of every page in the footer. Oh, so useful, because some are 3/8, some are 5/8. I'm looking at this and I'm assuming it's 5/8 just because of the shape of the pattern piece. But yeah, note to pattern makers, just put it everywhere. Just put it lots of places. So I wasn't really thinking about pattern matching on the shoulder seams because I was thinking more about the side seams. However, happy accident. Look at that. Dunk, 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 dunk.
And I think the other side is the same. Dunk, dunk. This one's a little bit off, but certainly close enough for a shoulder seam. Okay, so I've pressed those seams, and now I need to finish the edges of my facing, so this is where my bias binding comes in. Okay, so now what I did was I cut down the seam allowance by half, so it's basically like a 1/16. It's very thin, and then I've pressed this down. Now I could turn the whole thing under and have it clean like that, but I want to see the red. So what I'm doing is I'm folding this down like this, and let me show you. So I am folding this under. This is the right side. So I want to keep this red here, and so what I do is I stick a pin in, hopefully this is focusing, right in that seam, right where they meet, making sure it goes through in the back. Ooh, I even have a little bit more space here. Let's take that little bit more space. So you're folding it, let's see if this works. You're folding it so that it covers this stitch line, like that. And then you turn it over and you take your pin and put it right in the seam, come back out again, and then make sure that you've caught the bias binding behind. And then I'm going to do that all the way along so that I have a nice red edge. So I then sewed down that edge, and to be frank, this was a little thinner than I probably should have made it, and so I actually went back again a couple little gaps that I missed and just did it on the other side. And because it's red on red, really, unless you were looking very closely at the seam line, you're not going to see that I had to go over it again in places. I could have done it by hand. I did not. Anyway, I think it looks so pretty. I'm so excited to have this nice finished edge to my facing. Before I continue, I want to say that this would normally be the part where I would go, my battery, my battery. And I didn't have to do that because I got this battery charger with 2 extra batteries, and I did that with money that came from my Ko-fi account. And so I want to put the names of the people here who have recently donated to my Ko-fi, who have left me $3 or $5 or $8 to just say thank you for the content that I produce, and I really appreciate it. And it lets me do things like buy this and not either have to stop working so I can recharge, or have you guys miss stuff because I have to keep going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, on with the coat. So I have added the sleeves and finished the seams. She suggests that you press the seams towards the sleeve, but given this is such a chunky material, I think it's better to press the seam open, which is what I did. And now I'm going to start doing the side seams, which goes right from the sleeve and from the cuff to the armpit down to the hem. And if I've said a couple times before that I don't really love doing things that way, because I find that by the time you get from one end to the other, things become misaligned. You know, I don't have a walking foot here, so maybe I'm gonna have enough pins. I was just gonna say I'm gonna do it my other way and just do it, but maybe if I have enough pins. This actually hasn't been moving too much when I've done other things, so you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna pin the armpits. So this is the sleeve, and I want to pin the armpit seam together first and then pin out from there. So start out at the armpit and then pin out from there, and I'll show you how that goes. So in order to make sure that this works, I need to pin each stripe together at the seam allowance. So if the seam allowance is here, I need to make sure that the stripes match at 5/8, not at the edge. If you match them at the edge, then at 5/8 they may not match. So I'm gonna try and put a stripe. I'm gonna try and put a stripe in each one here. And then because I really want this to work well, I'm going to baste first. Check my seam to make sure that my plaid is mostly matching. and then go back over it with my true seam. Okay, and then this is the side seam. So I want to make sure that these stripes come together as much as possible at 5/8. I feel like this plaid is fairly forgiving because the edges are not super crisp. And so I feel pretty confident, maybe too confident, that it's going to be okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other side and then give this a baste and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so interesting results. So the side that I said I'm just going to go for it and try and go from cuff to hem, the first part, so you can see here, under the sleeve, good. And then when you get down here to the side seam, it's totally off. This side, you see that's totally off. So that I'm gonna have to redo. However, turn you. This side, this is the side that I basted and started from the armpit, went down, and then went the other direction. This one is good. It's good down the arm, and it's good down the side. Okay, so I'm gonna post this and my work so far, and then tomorrow or the next day, depending, hopefully before Christmas, I will be able to show you the rest. So the rest that we have to do is add the collar, add the facing, do the hem, and yeah, but overall, I think it's gonna be gorgeous. I've just pinned this up so that it's not hanging, but you know, it will go like that. Although this will not be the black and white, it will be the plaid. But you'll get flashes of the black and white on the inside. All right, guys, I hope that wherever you are, the sun is shining as it is here, and you are sewing, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.